everyone, my name is Adam Michael Anthony Simpson and you're watching my YouTube channel, Adam M.A. Simpson. Today we'll be interviewing Cellas Hayes, a PhD candidate at Ole Miss, that's the University of Mississippi, studying pharmacology. Now Cellas' story is very interesting. It speaks about need for representation and exposure to higher education at a young age. I really hope you enjoy this episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn of more people in academia and STEM like Cellas in this interview, and stay tuned for a really interesting and inspiring story for you. Thank you for being on this interview. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Cellas Hayes. I'm a second-year PhD student at the University of Mississippi studying pharmaceutical sciences with an emphasis in pharmacology. I'm a native Mississippian. I received my bachelor's of arts in biology with minors in classics and Latin in 2019 from the University of Mississippi. So I've been here almost 6 years, ever since I graduated high school.
Wow.
I grew up in a really, really small town in Mississippi. People in Mississippi don't even know it. We have a stop sign and a gas station, and that's it, and a post office. Like, we don't even have any other stores. The closest store is 30 minutes away.
Wow.
My high school, well, elementary, middle school, high school was an hour away on the bus. So I would wake up in time for school and I would have to be on the bus for an hour. I was the first or the second person to get on and off the bus every day. So we literally, like, if you walk behind my house, I'm in a different county to go to a different school, which I live closer to. So just the way the zoning ended up, I was on the bus for an hour and like 15 minutes every day to and from school. Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
Wow, that is not, wow.
It's not okay, but
That's not okay.
I got on the bus at 6:15 every morning.
Wow,
and got to school around 7:30.
That's perseverance. I haven't had a story like that on this channel yet, so I'm happy that you're here. So, like, moving into the general question of what led you to graduate school, what drew you to the University of Mississippi or Ole Miss? What you have said was from undergrad until now in the School of Pharmacy, Department of Biomedical Sciences. What led you to undergrad at Ole Miss? So
in my town, Ludlow, Mississippi, no one goes to college unless it's for sports. So I'm a first generation college student. So I had no idea of like how to navigate college. I was always smart, as everybody told me, because I basically just had straight A's throughout school, but I would never study or anything. I would just kind of come, do the work. The work wasn't challenging. So I was just kind of there. So from, I guess, middle school, people would tell me you should be a doctor, but I was like in love with animals and dinosaurs. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a paleontologist or a veterinarian. And I realized I had to go to Mississippi State my sophomore year of high school to be a vet. And I was like, I don't like maroon, so I'm not going to go to Mississippi State because that's their colors. The dinosaur thing just kind of went out the window as I grew up. So then I was kind of like in free fall. I was like, no one in my family goes to college. Nobody around me goes to college. I have like no support of how to get there. So it was kind of like a drop of fate in my bucket, or my cup, as I like to call it, just my cup as a person. My high school counselor called me to the office and she said, you have an invitation to go to Ole Miss for a 2-3 day leadership summit. So as a junior in high school, I went to the summit, and there was like the eye opener. That was my first time being on a college campus, being around other college students. So I met mentors and faculty that literally hand by hand, I emailed throughout the next couple weeks after I left, that helped me with my application and with my scholarship application, my housing application, and financial aid. So to say the least, Ole Miss was literally the only school I applied to for undergrad because I wasn't planning on going. I had decided to join the military. I had joined the National Guard my senior year of high school. I was like, I'm just going to go to the military and work. And then another drop of fate happened. I was medically discharged because I couldn't go to training. So then I had no choice but to go to college instead of going to the military.
Wow. So
a lot of stuff happened within like a year that drastically changed my point of view, the people I met, and how I ended up in college. But still, I had no help, no idea what it was going to be like, how to get there. So first day I get dropped off, and that was kind of it. Like, I was dropped off and left. I would call home. I remember my first paper. I made less than a 95 in high school, middle school on a paper. My first paper in college, I got a C+, first test C+. The teacher wrote on there, go to the writing center immediately. So I called home. I was like, okay, this is completely different. I'm struggling. I'm not going to be here. I have no family here. My family is 2.5, 3 hours away. I have friends that I've met, but what am I supposed to do? And it was just small things like I call home to complain, gripe like normal college students do. But when your family doesn't understand, they say things like, well, maybe you can talk to the professor and you can retake the test. It's like, yeah, this isn't high school. It doesn't work.
That's not how it goes. Yeah.
We only have 4 tests and there are no 9 weeks in the year. It's just a semester. So it's safe to say, like, basically, I consider like my first 3 years of undergrad was playing catch up, like, because I had such a poor foundation. I had zero study skills because I graduated number 4 out of 77 people in high school without opening a textbook, without studying. So I had no foundation of study skill. So I never failed a class and I never failed like a semester, but I did do poorly. I had a lot of C's in a lot of courses, especially the higher up biology courses. And everyone told me to go to medical school. So I was dead set on medical school. I ended up having an interview with the assistant dean of the medical school in Mississippi. And she gave me an outline of everything that I should do to get into medical school within 2.5 years. That main thing was research. It was like, we love when students do research. So sophomore year comes around and my mom's like, you have to get a job, but I don't want you working off campus. So I was like, okay. So I go to the university job site and I find a work study job because I was considered low income and first generation. So I was like, okay, I'm guaranteed a job if I have work study. And I see a call for undergraduate researchers. So I have an interview with a professor, Dr. Nicole Ashpole, who is my PI now. So as you can see, that was a long time ago.
Yes.
And to come to find out, this was her first faculty position in 2016. So I meet her. I'm the last interviewee out of everybody she was interviewing. I think she had 15, 20 of them.
Wow.
But the thing that got me the job was I was standing in the hallway and I had dressed nice. I had on like a shirt and khakis just for an interview. And it's Mississippi. It's 100 degrees and the field is like 115. Wow. I walked from my dorm across campus and I'm like drenched in sweat. Wow. My khakis like have sweat spots on certain parts of them. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm over it. I'm not going to get the job. Zero research experience. No idea what research was. I talked to another professor standing in the hallway that was next door to her office while waiting for her to show up. And once I left, that other professor was like, I really like him. He was smiling and he dressed nice. And so far, that's the only one I saw come in like that.
Wow.
So to say the least, that's how I got into research. After 6-7 months of helping set up the lab, I decided to continue working. And that's when I started getting involved in more experiments. And then the switch from medical school to grad school kind of happened during a very, very hard semester. Like I was taking biology, organic, and physics. My first physics test, I made a 30 something on it. And I just like instantly hit a state of depression because like I'm a complete failure. I tried to drop out of school, but my family wouldn't let me. I literally was texting at 3 a.m. I was like, I'm coming home. Yeah. Like next week, this is my last week here. I'm dropping to 0 hours. And it was a big deal. But something in me, like I was stayed in the bed for like a week. I didn't go to any classes and something just clicked. It was like, medical school is not your only option. You're good at other things.
Mm-hmm.
So then came to work and I said, Dr. Ashford, what is grad school like? Me being in college, I still didn't know what a PhD or what grad school was. It's like, these people just here working 40, 50 hours a week, like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she give me the rundown of it. And then I was still confused. I was so dead set on medical school. She didn't believe me. So I got offered to give an oral presentation at the Mississippi Academy of Sciences and a poster presentation on my research.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting second in the oral presentation and fifth in the poster presentation.
Wow.
And so then I was 20 at the time. So then I realized, I was like, okay, this is something I'm actually really good at.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hands-on skills to do animal work, and I actually like enjoy thinking outside of the box. Mm-hmm. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to grad school. This is how I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
She still didn't believe me. So it's time. Like then I attend the year go by, another year. I'm still doing research at another conference, ABRACAMS, the largest minority conference in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I get offered to give another oral presentation there. And this is with 6,000 people. So I'm in a room full of 300 people. I give the presentation. I handle the questions well, and then I walk around like the venues, and people are like, I came to your presentation, you did amazing. And then school started offering me positions to come for grad schools. I was like, okay, my mind is blown.
Wow.
I never thought this was really possible. My mind was literally blown. Mm-hmm. And it was just the fact that I was just being like my natural and authentic self. Like I had a very, very, very thick Mississippi accent. You can probably hear it now some, but it was way worse. It was like
what?
It was bad. It was bad. So I worked to like, and it was just prohibiting me from saying some words or just like grasping some concepts. So I worked on that for a couple months, and then I was able to like start the application process for grad school. Mm-hmm. At this time, Dr. Ashford still did not believe I was going to grad school. I was like, it's too late for me to apply to medical school. What do you think I'm going to do?
Yeah.
So I submit my application. She was like, oh, shoot, you have an interview. So I have the interview, and I get accepted because I did the interview well, and I knew everyone on my committee. But for the most part, I chose to stay mainly because of my mentor, who is young. She's a woman, and she's a first-generation college student. So we can relate some way. She may not relate to the fact that I'm African-American, but being a woman in STEM and being Black in STEM, they're very similar. Women get treated poorly just as African-Americans or minorities. So she can understand me on that level. I've known her since I was 19. That was most grad students cannot say that they have known their PI or mentor since they were 19. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was another thing. She literally watched me grow up, watch my mind change, watch me basically become a scientist and grow through everything. And I just felt like being here I could thrive even more, especially being at a grad level. If I was able to jump the bar so much during undergrad with her guidance as a grad student, I think that'll quadruple even more. And so far it's happening. So that's kind of my way through undergrad, college, and then getting into grad school, and why I chose to stay at my undergrad institution, which is pretty rare for people getting PhDs.
Wow, you've answered the question. It's the best answer I've gotten so far in terms of what I'm really trying to do with this channel. So I'm so happy that you gave us that story. Wow.
It's a lot.
No. It's good. I'm hoping that you write it down someday.
Some of it's actually on my website now. So this week I got to launch my website. I've been working on it for a few weeks.
Awesome.
So finally get to launch my personal website, my journey. It's a lot of things have happened. I think that biggest thing that happened in my life was during my senior year of high school. I had been admitted to college, submitted everything, and I was just waiting to hear back about scholarships. And it was January, the day after Martin Luther King Day. And the next day I remember is February 2nd or 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So come to find out, I ended up being diagnosed with some form of severe psychosis. Like, it
What?
was so bad. My mom took me to 6 emergency rooms, everyone around us, and I wasn't speaking, I wasn't eating. I was going through a normal routine. Like, I got on the bus and went to school and everything, and my teacher was like, he's not talking, like something is wrong. And at one point, I wasn't talking in a class, and she made me go to the office because I wouldn't answer her question.
Mm-hmm.
And even just like subconsciously, my brain working, I was able to like find the office, and no one could find me. They said they found me like in a corner, just sitting down, like staring at the wall.
Wow.
So my mom ended up taking me to St. Dominic's, which is a huge hospital in Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they couldn't say anything. They did tox testing, brain scans, everything. They thought I had a tumor because it was just such a rapid change.
Yeah.
And on her way home, she was like crying, and me just sitting in the car. I don't remember any of this. This is things that everyone has told me.
Yeah.
It was a light shining on a facility, and it was a mental health behavioral facility.
Yeah.
So my mom ended up, she was just like, that was a sign and fate where I just needed to leave you there. So the next thing I remember, I think it was 7 days later, I just woke up and asked the nurses, where am I?
Oh, wow.
So literally it was just like, those days, it's been almost 5 years, and those days I still cannot remember them.
Remember what happened?
It was like so bad, my hands didn't work. So my senior year of high school, like I had my hands like this during the entire thing, they said. And they were just like, it was like basically like rheumatoid arthritis. Like they were shriveled up, and I couldn't use them. So my senior year of high school, I had to completely relearn how to basically write. And then it was something about my social skills. Like I was detached from everything and everyone, like a completely different person. So I had to completely learn how to be social and interact with people while learning how to write my senior year of high school, 6 months before going to college.
Yeah.
And that was like, had me dead set on science. That's why, because at first, like I have other interests, of course, but that's what got me down just the path of science, that experience that happened to me that I still can't explain, that doctors can't explain to this day. It's been almost 5 years.
Wow. So, wow. That's an interesting story. I've heard of, so you're saying you're thinking about getting into college at the time and applying to scholarships. Were you significantly like worried at the time?
That's what they said. I think I was worried about and stressing about, how am I going to pay for this? Because I grew up in a single parent household too. Like there's no way my mom could afford college. So it's like, I have to get a scholarship. I have to get like grants. I have to do this. And they said that would be the only thing that would stress me to a point where that would happen. But even I've never been the type to just like stress and sit there and focus on it. And they were like, we think it was maybe just like subconsciously in the back of your mind, because it was just such a foreign idea to you, you going to college and it being paid for. And it was like, it was just triggered something in you, just like cut you completely off to the world. And my psychiatrist at the time was saying, we never see people bounce back the way that you do. It's completely rare. Once somebody goes like that, they usually have to take medication for like the rest of their life, or they never get like full function of their hands or their mind back. And he's like, it's very, very rare that you able to come back and then still be in college and do more. So it's completely weird to me still talking about it. It was kept a secret for 3 or 4 years, and then finally I just got comfortable. I was like, somebody needs to hear this and talk about it, because like I have no idea what happened to me. My family doesn't know, doctors don't know. It just cannot be explained at this point, and the only thing they can say is stress.
You should read up Maya Angelou's first autobiography with the I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
I've read it.
Oh, you read it? So do you was it similar to her silence as a child after that traumatic experience where she
I think so. Before that experience, I would say I'm a pretty social person. I was like considered one of the popular kids in school. And I played basketball, I played tennis. I got along with everybody. I wasn't in like one set group. And after that, it was like that. Like literally, it was a complete switch. I drove home that night from the store with my family. And the next thing I remember is 7-8 days later, being in a facility in scrubs.
Yeah.
Like nothing. And then after that, I was just like, who am I?
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Even after I came home, it was like, I don't know who I am. And I was just doing things. One thing I did, I locked myself in my room. And of course, I wasn't responding to people talking to me. So my sister, she's 13 years older than me. She had to kick my door down and they had to like pick me up and drag me out the room and put me in the car. So, and then after I came home, my mom was always worried about me being in my room too long. But I was like a completely different person. I would say it still affects me to this day, especially socially. And it was hard for me to develop relationships with people because I couldn't tell them a lot of me, especially being in college.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about stuff. I was just like, this is the way I got to college. Like, this is what dead set me on this path. I wasn't able to like be my 100% self. So I always felt kind of like a fraud that I wasn't telling people my story. And then I just felt detached from everyone. Like, okay, no one else I know had an experience like this. Like, I haven't heard nobody else my age, just it happening out of the blue. It's like, something is wrong with me. I'm mentally insane. Something is not wrong. Like it was so many scenarios I played in my head for years, and it just hindered me from doing a lot of things.
Yeah. So then you decided to just own your truth and tell people what your experience is, which I think is very important.
It's empowering.
Really, it's empowering. Yeah, it's empowering, and it underscores the fact that I want to say representation is important, but yeah, representation is important. You came from a background where very few people went to college, and so you had to really figure it out on your own, and figuring it out on your own is a very daunting task, especially at that young age.
It is.
And so you really actually toughed it out.
It is.
Yeah.
I never thought I would one day be being called doctor, especially at 17, 18.
Yeah,
when you're just like, no one in my family has done this. I don't know anybody that is a doctor. Only doctors I know are the ones that I visited. And that's just throughout my life. So it's very empowering, your story, and then seeing people like overcome. And it's kind of like when people talk about, oh, my grandfather was a doctor, and that's empowering to them. Like their grandfather made a way for their future to be better. And now that I have a son, it's just like, okay, my son is gonna say, my dad is a doctor, and he's the first doctor in the family, and he made a way for the rest of us. Yeah. So
his son is 2 months 2 months old, guys.
He is 2 months old. He's like yay small.
That's so nice. I just wanted to bring up that you're an Ole Miss Ambassador, which you state serves as a liaison for student, faculty, and staff, as well as participates and organizes recruiting events. Please let me know why you're so devoted to this cause.
So I became a Ole Miss ambassador my senior year of college. The main thing that we do is give tours across campus. So there are about 75, 80 ambassadors that give tours every day of the week, even on Saturdays when we have visits days. So with that, we go through multiple rounds of interviews, multiple training things, and we have to learn all the facts about campus. But the point of a tour is that not we go around spitting fact after fact after fact. The uniqueness of the Ole Miss tour is that you tell stories that entire way. You bring in your own experience. You aren't restricted at all. People don't remember facts. People remember stories. So the person and the stories. So for the most part, most of my tours, I would give 3 or 4 facts, and that's like when the university was founded, the first African American, and a couple buildings. Other than that, I was describing buildings and telling people, oh, me and my friends did this in front of this building, or this happened in this building, or like if it's a story from like the 1900s, they say this happened in this building. I'm not sure if it's true or not. And that's what they remember. They remember the hominess, the authenticity. So it's not even that it's a job or community service. It's the ability and the free reign that students like me, who come from completely different backgrounds than most of the people in college, they are able to share their story and their journey to empower other people. Because I've literally had students come after tours and say, how did you make it out? Or you did this, I should have no choice but to be successful and be able to do this. Or just the fact that being a Black male on the campus, I think during my time as an undergraduate ambassador, we had 2 or 3 Black male ambassadors out of 80. And that just represents the university, because we do consider ourselves a predominantly white institution, a PWI. So just being a Black face for even students that I can see them, because I've had families come up to me and say, how is it really here being Black? Because they don't know. Their parents only know the bad stories from the last 50 years and everything that goes on in the media. They don't know how it actually is here. And the good thing, the rewarding thing is that when I get Instagram notifications saying, Cellas, I got accepted. Cellas, I got this scholarship. Or like this past year, my first year of grad school, I walked around campus and saw so many students that I gave tours to.
Awesome.
And that's the amazing part, especially when they are minorities, because it is daunting if you come and get a tour and your tour guide doesn't look like you and no one in your group look like you.
Yeah.
Because throughout entire year and a half of being an ambassador, I can count on pretty much 2 hands how many tours I gave to Black people.
Wow.
And that's just crazy. That's just wild. It's hard to fathom that you never give tours to Black people. But even being Black, in those moments where families and people are pretty much clueless about a university and clueless about identity, their minds are open. When you come into something not knowing anything and you're already there to basically get a tour or get information, you hear and you listen better. And just me sharing my story to people, to CEOs, to doctors, and they're just like, wow, while going on a tour, and they tell their kids to get my number or get my social media to stay in contact throughout that process. Is like an amazing feeling, because you rarely get that. Everybody knows everything. Everybody's a know-it-all. Like in that 1 hour of a tour, walking across campus, their minds are open, their ears are open, and they're ready to listen and learn. And that's why I was so committed to it. And now I'm a graduate ambassador doing the same thing, but now just serving for graduate students and on graduate panels, sharing my voice with them about how I ended up choosing to stay at the university, because that's very different than attending from out of state at a different institution. So I get to provide feedback on all the positive reasons why I chose to stay at the University of Mississippi now.
Thank you for watching part 1 of this interview featuring Cellas Hayes. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for part 2 coming up soon.